Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Light back into another YouTube video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing Iron Man 2 review here. 2011 Raw review here on the channel. So yeah, Iron Man 2. I'm down to now. This is part 3 of my ongoing series of reviewing the MCU. And yeah, it's part 3 again, Iron Man 2. So yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, Iron Man 2 definitely is somewhat of an interesting movie. Yeah, it's definitely not the greatest. It's definitely a little bit bad, but I mean it's still watchable and stuff. Uh, yeah, and that's kind of just like my initial reaction to it, to be honest, with you guys. Let's go right into it. Let's go for what's bad about this movie, what's good about this movie, and I'll give my score and final thoughts after the end of that. So first of all, let's go into the bad here. So in terms of the bad, there's a lot of things that have gone wrong with this movie. I'm gonna just straight up say it. There's a lot of things that went wrong with this movie. First of all, Justin Hammer was kind of screwed up in this movie. Not a huge fan of him. He kind of sucked. I mean, Tom Rockwell's as Justin Hammer. Don't get me wrong, it's pretty cool, but it just they kind of screwed him up in this movie. Not a huge fan. I just you could just generally say villain because Whiplash was pretty bad too. When I was a kid, I originally watched this, and I remember thinking Whiplash looked cool. I thought his final suit kind of looked coolish, but I mean, other than that, I mean, he just sucks. He's a terrible villain. I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of him as a villain. Like his only real like redeemable thing was he had a decent motive in the saying that he wanted to kill Tony Stark because of what Howard Stark did to his father. That's literally his whole motive, and it just felt like a kind of like a bland motive. So I didn't really like too much of Whiplash. I thought he was kind of bad. So yeah. Next up is definitely just some of the writing. I mean, it just has to do with big time with like the writing and stuff. It was kind of bad. I wasn't a huge fan of the fact that they put like Shield and trying to heavily influence Iron Man and stuff. Again, Iron Man is one of those characters where it's kind of like he's on his own, and I didn't like the fact that like Nick Fury and Agent Coulson were so involved with this and like holding down Iron Man and stuff like that. Like I just felt like that was kind of annoying and a kind of a bad subplot. I understand why they did it. They did it because again, they probably what they wanted to do was they wanted to like market up the Avengers movie and try and get more people realizing, oh, there's a bigger universe in store, which is all right. But I mean, it's just a little bit too much of it, and wasn't a huge fan. Now I know some people might be thinking, oh, Black Widow's in this. She's technically a part of Shield's involvement in this, and I gotta say, Black Widow was justified, understandable, and it wasn't even that bad. So it's just a little bit. Again, it has to do with writing wise. Like I realized, especially on my when I just rewatched it, I realized that we never learned anything really about Black Widow in this movie. We literally just learned she's a Shield super spy. We learned nothing in terms of the fact that she's a former Red Room spy and stuff like that. Like we learned nothing of that. She to anyone during this time watching this movie, they probably thought she was just like some random Shield agent that's pretty good at fighting, and yeah, and it has a big involvement in Iron Man. So that's one of the things as well. Kind of just with that being said, that's what kind of sucked with it. About like the writing behind some of the characters, but don't get me wrong, writing around Tony Stark was pretty good. I like seeing him have this good character development of slowly becoming a better character or slash a better person. So yeah, uh, and I mean acting wise, I thought Robert Downey Jr. does a good job acting, but I mean I don't know, Gwyneth Paltrow is not. She's a good actor. Don't get me wrong, but just personally, wasn't a big fan of her in these first two movies in terms of her acting and stuff. It wasn't too great. Uh, as well, the replacement of Rhodey wasn't too bad either. Don Cheadle, he's a pretty good actor too. So No complaints there. Uh, yeah, that's about it for like the bad parts. Now for the good parts. It does have some good scenes as well, some good CGI and everything. Like for example, I was a fan of that scene where Whiplash destroys Iron Man's car in that race scene. That was a really good scene. I enjoyed that. One of the redeemable factors of this movie, to say the least. His suit looks pretty cool in this movie. I liked how they went with that triangle, the triangle arc react. I think it's called an arc reactor. The thing in his chest. I liked how they went with that design. That looked pretty cool. Again, Robert Downey Jr. is pretty good in these movies. He's pretty solid. He's not bad or anything. As well as I actually like the fact Don Cheadle actually took over the role. I thought he did a really good job as Rhodey, and he does a good job as Rhodey from all the stuff. So that's important to note, and that's pretty cool. Now the intro of War Machine was actually really relatively well timed. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, they rushed it or anything. This was relatively good timing to add in War Machine. So with that being said, like I really enjoyed that part of it, which is really cool. To see kind of like War Machine come on, and his suit is pretty cool too as well. So that's pretty interesting. And last thing, probably just some of the action towards the end. I actually like that. I somewhat like the scene when they're just destroying all those robots. That was pretty cool. But I mean, then it kind of sucked once Whiplash came. That ending battle was just trash. Um, yeah. Anyways, in terms of my final thoughts and my score for the movie, honestly, I think this movie is definitely, in my opinion, a little bit overhated. I say a very little bit. It's kind of overhated. I mean, this is not the worst MCU movie. I would say this isn't the worst one. It easily gets over like the two Thor movies at least those two movies, right? But I mean, it's still a bad movie. I can't even lie. It's not the greatest, but I mean, a lot of people think this movie is probably the worst MCU movie, which I kind of strongly disagree with. Just because I just stated my reasons with some like the cooler scenes and stuff. So yeah, that's a big reason with that. But I mean, yeah, again, it's still. I'm not gonna say it deserves the hate, but I'm gonna say it's like still it. People treating it badly kind of is reasonable, but I mean, not too much. But I mean, in terms of my score for the movie, honestly, I give it a good maybe 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10. So not too high, but I mean, yeah, it's still alright. I think it would, if I were to rank all the movies and stuff, it'd come second last, just in front of Thor for Phase One movies. But yeah, that's pretty much it though. Next thing I review is gonna be Captain America for the First Avenger, which will be the next review as part 4. But anyways, that's pretty much it though. Thanks for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.